is not Thursday, this is pre-recorded, it's Monday, sorry. But you're joining us almost live from Northern Scotland, where we're going to have yet another exciting Consonance live stream. And I made the possible mistake of clicking on the analytics button on our YouTube channel and noticed that there are many new followers and new watchers of this live stream content who have just been watching a completely unrelated video. So if you've just been watching something about rebuilding carburetors or something about how to apply makeup, then who knows, this could be a particularly life-changing video for you to autoplay, and you may find yourself fascinated by the intricacies of bibliographic metadata management. Could be a game changer. This is what we do on this live stream. We have a look at the following questions. We look at task of the week, where we take a usual book publishing task and we see how to make it happen in Consonance.app, the preeminent insert ad here. We're going to look at the reporting spotlight. We're going to do some sort of report using Consonance, and we're going to use it to tunnel into our data, get some insights, and get our job done quicker. From our own correspondence, we are going to look at things that have come in the post, the digital post, from our wonderful clients who we treasure and hold very dear in our hearts. We're going to have a look at a real world problem that people have encountered, see how we recommended solving it, and share the solution so that everyone can benefit. We're going to have a look at what's new, and then we're going to do a power move. We're going to show you some sort of activity that you can do in Consonance that will make your colleagues gasp with amazement. How did you do that? What a power move. So another jam-packed session to be enjoyed today. So the general theme of today's live stream is to do with contacts. I thought it's an interesting area to look at. I mean, bibliographic data management, it's all about the biblia bit of that. It's about the works, the products, the bibliographic metadata that we try to make, as high quality as possible so that people can find our books, buy them, read them, borrow them, whatever. And as a sort of a parallel track to the idea of product management, product metadata within the industry, is contact management. And the sort of contacts that we would most usually think of are contributors to the books. The authors, illustrators, translators, series editors, commentators, so on and so forth. There are also a whole bunch of other people and organisations that we all come across in our working weeks that we want to be able to manage, to get the details right of, so that when we need to send them something or receive something from them, all of our details are correct and we are accurately maintaining their records, never overstepping, always doing an excellent job of walking that divide between preserving somebody's personal data and making sure that we've got enough information to be able to do our jobs properly. Here in the UK, we're very lucky to be constrained by the legislation called GDPR. It provides a wonderful framework for making sure that everyone has thought about whether data is being handled properly, and then a means of enforcing it as well. So it's a good framework, and one that we're happy and excited to be able to support. Even if you're not in the UK, there are benefits to working with people who work within that framework. So all good news all the time. So let's dive in to Consonance and let's have a look at how to add a contact. And if you were listening along either last week or the week before, time has lost all meaning, I can't remember which one, you will remember that we have a new feature now. We can search the documentation from within the app. So I'm going to go to my account icon up here, click on search documentation, and I may as well just start by saying, add a contact. How add contact what? And here are a bunch of suggestions that the search is bringing back to say, well, you could add contacts to some statements, you could import contacts in bulk. Here's a little bit more of a more refined idea about editing a contributor's biographical note, so on and so forth. So always dip into the documentation that exists here as a first starting point. We actually get analytics, we get metrics on the sorts of terms that are being searched for here. And it's really interesting to see that people are indeed searching for the sort of highly specific, nuanced sort of task accomplishment strings that you would expect people to be searching for, but sort of safe in the knowledge that if you don't get a good search result when you type something in, we have noticed we do get notifications on searches where there's no content to match your good searches. So it's really exciting for us actually to get that insight, and you don't have to bother sending a support ticket, and of course it's all anonymised. But happily, here we have add a contact, and if I click into this, then I'm going to be able to see some of the recommendation information. If you don't have a Consonance account, and why are you watching this? But if you don't have a Consonance account, all of this information is accessible for free without any sign-in required on our marketing website, www.consonance.app. But what we're looking at here is it's also embedded within the app here. And it says the quickest way to add a new contact is whenever you need to be adding a contact for some other reason. So let's have a look to see what that means. I'm going to close this just for the moment. And I'm going to go to a part of the system where I would expect to be able to choose a contact. And the one that springs to mind actually is contracts. In your head contract, you need to say who is being paid what amount of money. So I'll dive into this imaginary book called The Christmas Day Murder, go to the contract page and find the remittances region. So there's a payees region here. You can see it says organisations or people contracted to receive royalties. There aren't any on this work at the moment, so I'll click add payees, and the first drop down input field that pops up is called payee, and it says select or type to add a new option. And so I've selected, and these are all of the contacts that exist in the system at the moment. These are all make-believe, by the way. I just imported 1,000 random contact records here, so that's all good fun. So I could add in, I could choose a contact that we already know about and we already have a record for. I could choose them as the payee for benefiting from the proceeds of this particular contract. Sure, why not? Let's use that person. And or I can add a new contact at this point. So I will add somebody called Pearl Thompson. Oh, spelt wrong. Pearl Thompson. And as I've been typing, Consonance has been saying, well, I don't have anyone by that name, so you can create them if you like. So let me just show you that again when I'm a bit more zoomed in. Yeah, lovely. Thompson, and then capitalise that, great. And I click to create Pearl, and I get this option, create them as a person or as an organisation. Because there are some differences between the idea of a person and an organisation, and some of them are quite specific to publishing. So for instance, there are organisational identifiers that only apply to an organisation. There are identifiers that only apply to a person. I'm thinking things like Ringgold and Dun & Bradstreet and the Orchid ID. There's no point in trying to mark up a person with a DUNS ID, because that's not the purpose of that. So it's useful to say, I'm adding a contact, and it happens to be a person. So I click there, and I know it looks like a lot, but I get a very cut down number of options just to get this record, the basics of this record, into the system. Because, the task at hand here is that I am powering through a contract, trying to get all of the information in so that I can get the first draft out to the agent. I'm not in the zone of, I'll carefully curate all of my contact records. So it is absolutely fine to bang in the basics, because then you have started your idea of one version of the truth. You've got that sense that there's a record that whenever any more information about Pearl Thompson comes up, we are going to be able to add it into our one version of the truth. Spreadsheets are not our friend in this regard. Post-it notes are not our friend, and long email chains are not our friend. So I'm not going to add any extra information there. That is enough for me to have banged in the word I need to bang in, and I can now carry on with getting my contract ready. So that's a really nice way to set up a new contact within Consonance. And it's really important that the system has this ability to let you flow through the system, making good data preservation choices, but not interrupting you along the way. So anytime you see a contact drop down within the system, you're going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to add a genuine new record on the fly. But the key point here is that this is our one version of the truth. Again, we have got one place, one record that represents the person who is Pearl Thompson. So when they are added to a contract as a payee, when they are added to a work as a contributor, when they are included on a mailing list, there's no sort of duplication going on. There's no potential for there to be more work than necessary for you to maintain name changes, other personal information updates, address changes, this sort of thing. It's just like over on the product management side. This is one version of the truth, there's one record, and it gets attached to everything. So that is good news. That is why we don't want to make you have to, open up a new tab and go to the contacts page and blah, 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 do all of the busy legwork. We need to make it quick for you to add in what you need so that you are more likely to want to preserve your data integrity than not. So that's great. But let's now go, I think, to the big contacts area so that we can see where you do go when you are really just wanting to go and see your long list of contacts. So as ever, I'm going to go to the main menu and I am going to select address book. I can search for things such as contacts, and that's going to refine it down for me. People and organisations will work as well. Or I can type in address book and hit tab and enter, and then I'm away to my address book. And the thing that loads at the top to start with are some search fields. And you're thinking, well, why are there search fields here when we have a perfectly wonderful reporting area where we normally go to do all of our reporting? Well, the thing is that reporting funnels you through works and then products. And it's perfectly possible that you might have a contact that isn't associated in any way with a work or a product. And so we need to give you a way of filtering and searching for particular entities that may just be existing in the system because they are an important partner to you, but they're not actually a contributor or a payee or to do with any particular work. So for instance, there might be, I'm going to really struggle to think of one now, maybe a data aggregator. The entity known as Nielsen is an important contact, and you need to store their information and their address and means of contacting them and information about them. But Nielsen isn't a contributor to a work, and Nielsen isn't a recipient of any money, and you don't send them track copies, and you don't keep a record of their royalty statements, that sort of thing. So that's where in this area we have got everybody. We have got contributors to works, we have got all of those other associated people and organisations. We also have all other contacts. And so that's why there's a search at the top of this page that we can dive into and refine down the list of contacts. And we'll be returning to this page later on in the live stream because we've got some juicy tasks ahead of us. But I just wanted to pause and let you know that, whilst adding a new contact is, great to be done on the hoof, you can also do it from here. So let's have a look at what that looks like. If I add a contact, I get the same sort of thing, add a person or an organisation. This time let's add an organisation so that we can see what's what with that. So let's add Nielsen, why not? Because this is our Feline Press account. They are based in the United Kingdom, GB for United Kingdom. They could have an address, they could have contact information. Here are some of the ID numbers that I was talking about. There's a GLN for an organisation, there's your DUNS number, there's a SAN number, all good stuff. So I'm going to leave all of that blank for the moment, but we can save that record, and that's another way to add an organisation. Very kindly, Constance has said, this might be a duplicate of what you've already got in the system. So it hasn't sort of overstepped and said, we're not going to let you add this. It's perfectly possible that you can have two Nielsens, but it is just flagging that, you might just want to check your work, see if that's what you meant to do. The third way to add contacts into the system is with the importer. And we did this on a previous live stream, and I will endeavour to put the link to that live stream into the description below. But here is a button to get you to that happy place, import contacts. This will guide you through how to import those contacts using a spreadsheet template. And the spreadsheet looks a bit like this, title names, organisation names, and other information that you may want to bulk import from a spreadsheet to get you going. Particularly relevant if you are new to Consonance, or if you have just bought a new list or a new imprint, or you are gradually onboarding a lot of your data and have got to the bit where you're taking on the rights contact spreadsheet or something like that. So have a look, learn how to use the contacts template, upload it, validate it, and that's a quick way to do a bazillion of them in one go. So those are 3 great ways to add a contact. Now you'll notice there that what I've been doing slightly blurs the line between the idea of a contact and the idea of a contact that is related to another record within Consonance. So we had a look at adding a payee to the contract, to the head contract. They were still a contact. They now exist in the contacts list there in the address book, but they also now have an association in the role of a payee. And we see that in quite a few places within Consonance, and the most obvious place is where the contributors are to a work. So we're going to have a look at contacts as they relate to how they have contributed to a work in a moment. But it's worth saying, start with the idea that there's this big long list of contacts and they live in the address book, and they're just exactly that, they're entries in an address book. They can either just sit there, and that's fine, and be recorded and have the correct information available for when you need to contact them, or they can be associated with other records all throughout Consonance, all in different ways. Think editors, think agents, think authors, translators and so forth. Always adhering to the idea of one version of the truth. We don't add multiple Nielsen's to the system. We don't, if an author has done 15 books for us, we don't add 15 records that look like that author. We join the one record of the author to the 15 different products and works. Great, stop going on about it. I think, in the meantime, before we look at that in real life, on with the reporting spotlight. And so in the reporting spotlight today, it's about contributors, but it doesn't maybe look like it's about contributors, does it? Here's our challenge. We're going to find translations that don't have an original language title. So that would be a problem in our search for data excellence, because if we're publishing a work in translation and we have omitted to include anywhere in our metadata what the original title was, then it's rude for a start. You should mention the origination of your work, but it's also missing a metadata marketing excellence trick, and the more keywords we can throw at the internet to allow people to find our works and thence give us money for them, the better. So here is a good search report to run. We will look at Consonance and we'll find all of the translations and check that they have an original language title. So let us hotfoot over to Consonance yet again. We're going to go to the reporting area. Before I click on it, just think in your mind where it is to check that you're one step ahead of me. That's right, we are going to reporting. And as you know, I can type rep and then hit tab and press enter, because it's hot again today. So I'm going to try not to touch the keyboard. There's a spoiler, I've already done this one, but let's do it from scratch. So I add a new report. And the first thing I'm going to do, this is going to be two conditions. First condition, first syllable, is going to be whether there is a contributor on this particular work that has some sort of role to do with translating. So it's quite interesting, isn't it? What is a translation? What metadata element do we search for that tells us that a work is in translation? I mean, I think the presence of a translator is a pretty good shout. There isn't actually another place that you would say it's a translation. Well, maybe in the edition type code there might be one in there, but this is a better one because the edition type code might be missing as well. So let's type in the phrase contrib. And that brings me back work contact role. So this is a contribution is when a contact, as listed on our address book, is associated with a work. That's what a contribution is. So when we see contribution and contributors there, that's what we're talking about. A contact in Consonance who has contributed in some way to the content in a work. So I click that and I can say include any of, and I will just simply type the word trans and I get some options back. And nothing in publishing is simple, is it? There isn't just one code. There isn't correctly one code for this is a work in translation. We've got some options here. And so within Consonance we can spread our net wide, can't we? We can choose all of them because the predicate in the middle here is include any of. I haven't selected include none of. I haven't selected present. I've kept it broad and I've gone include any of the work contact role that is translated by, the work contact role that is translated with a commentary by, or edited and translated by, or revised by. And now I have exhausted my things that have trans or transl in it. Yeah. And so now I know that I'm going to have a good set of results come back, because I've made sure that I've covered all of the ways that we could consider a work to be in translation. Hit search. That brings me back one work, 4 products. Let's have a look to see in a little bit more detail what that looks like. It's all Cats Throughout History. Cats Throughout History is the only work within Consonance that has got a translator as a role. So that's quite exciting. So now let's add one more. Let's add one more work so that we can see what we're talking about. Let's go back to Christmas Day Murder and add a translator to Christmas Day Murder and see if we can get some variety going. So I'm on the metadata page. I'm going to go to contributions. There aren't any contributions so far. I'm going to add one of our translation codes. So this is the sort of other end of the thing. You know, we were searching for these codes. Now we're searching for them to add them to a particular work. And I'm going to say translated by, and this person can do that, and they're going to be relevant for all of the different products. I've got a couple of options here as well. Some other options come up, the language that it's been translated from and to, and those only come up because we've selected a contributor role that pertains to translation. But that's not what I want to talk to you about today. So that's lovely. So we've got that there. And then on this work, I'm going to add the original title. So here we are at the titles area. Click on here, and we've got title in original language as one of the options. So we're going to have to make this up, and I'm going to have to try and remember some high school French, aren't I? What is Christmas in French? Noël. 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 Jour. Murder. 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 Great. With apologies to all French speakers and lovers there. So we've got our title in the original language. That's fantastic. So now when we go back to our search, let's see what that does. Go to reporting. You know how we do this. We go to new report. I'm going to say work contact role. Contributions work contact role. Include any of. Let's do tra and tra and tra and tra, and that's it. Great. Let's search for them. And now we've got 2 works and 8 products. Sure enough. So here are our products: Christmas Day Murder, Cats Throughout History. So now let's add on our next condition. So this condition is going to say, well, let's start typing, shall we? What about the original title? What we want to see now is how many of these works, these products, have not got the original title, because we know that these are all in translation now. So let's type and see what we get. Original work. Oh, there we go. Title in original language right at the top. Great. And we could say it contains, we could say contains Noël, and that would bring us back to the one we just added. And there's all of these regex searches as well, which we looked at on a previous live stream. But we can go straight to the bottom of this predicate list and say not present. And that's the end of our search there. So now if I press search, that's the one that is errant in data quality. And if I, flip it round and say present, there's the one that we just added. So that's a nice way to take the idea of these contributions existing in Consonance and then using them to tunnel into your data to check for data integrity, for useful quality insights. And it's quite lightweight, and it's nice to back and forth like that a bit sometimes, isn't it? It's nice to add in some information and then just sort of wrap yourself up to a slightly higher level and think, okay, I've added this information. How is this going to serve me in being very nimble within my own data? How am I going to know and refine what my current data state is? So I don't think it's a bad idea to, add some data, come to the reporting area, investigate it a bit, sort of dive in whilst it's fresh in your mind, knowing what you've just added to the system, and then sort of build up that sense of, okay, right, if I need to do that again, I've got a better mental model for where I want to go. So yes, so that was the reporting spotlight for today. We discovered some data quality problems. We discovered how to find translated works that do not have an original title. Great news. Right, what's next on our list? From our own correspondence is also to do with contacts, as previously advertised. And the query this week is quick and dirty. How do I export a list of all my authors? And it's just interesting, isn't it, to just pause again and think, the word that the correspondent there has used is authors, which is very natural and correct. There are people who are authors. Just whilst we're practicing thinking about the data model, those authors exist in the contacts address book, and they are associated with a work, and the role is author. It sounds like I'm labouring the point, but it's important, because then you sort of start to build up how there is one version of the truth, and there is one entry for a contact who may be an author on multiple different works. And within that, there may be a refinement of whether they're actually contributors to all of the products on those works as well. I'm thinking illustrators on monochrome Kindle products. You wouldn't include the illustrator if their illustrations aren't included in one of the products. So that's why this data model is so important, because it supports that sort of elegance. So anyway, let's go back to Consonance and have a look to see how do I do that. How do I export a list of all my authors? So let's have a look at the kind of cheap way to do it. Whenever I think exporting, I think, let's go and see the big CSV export dump thing to see if there's any options on there. And there isn't actually a big option to download all of your contacts, but that's okay. I still want to take you over there just to get a little sense of what is there, because I find it nice to hold these things in one's mind. So these are the options. You can get a big dump of products or works or some sales things or some prices and to-dos. But there is still relevant information within this. So I'm going to take this opportunity to click on works here. That's how fast it is. It's a wonderful thing when you're in a hurry. You don't need to refine anything. You just crack on. We'll open it in LibreOffice, even though it'll do that. So this is what you get. You get the system work ID, the client ID, the title. You get the primary contributor. You get their unique ID within Consonance, which can be super helpful if the reason that you're getting this data dump is to make some big changes and then import them in bulk back into Consonance. That ID is your key to importing back into the system. You get some other stuff, and at the end you get the number of contributors as well. So that can be quite helpful. Whatever this work is here, my word has 152 contributors, so that is a point of great interest, isn't it? Ask Cats of the World. I vaguely remember on a previous live stream we did that, didn't we? When we imported some data like this. So yes, so if this is the sort of information you want, and once you've got your list of authors downloaded by some other means that we're going to look at, you think, actually what I wanted was a list of works with the contributors alongside it, then this might be a better option for you. So that's always nice to look at. Let's get that shut. But another way to do it is to go back to our reporting area and to use the reporting that does exist to download a custom report of contacts. A custom report or one of the built-in options as well. So let's chip through that. Let's have a look to see what we can do. So I made a big song and dance earlier about how when we are on the address book, there are search fields at the top there because contacts may not be associated with any works or products at all. And so reporting, which is focused on works and products, would not be much use to us. But because this correspondent has asked for authors, we're on safe ground. We can think about looking for contributions and not worry that there might be some contacts in the address book that the search might not find. So it's happy days really. So I'm going to, again, look for my work contact role. Contributions work contact role, lovely. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? Gosh, there are so many ways into thinking about contacts within Consonance, but we'll plough on at this level for the moment. So work contact role include any, and then it's authors this time. So at this point, you might want to ask your correspondent, do you mean author, or do you mean original author? And they might look panicked at you and say, I'm really not sure what's an original author. And then you'd go into Consonance onto the metadata page and you'd see what the notes were. And you'd think, no, actually, what we want is the authors as defined by Onyx code A01. So this is pretty much the most simple search we've ever done on these live streams, isn't it? But then this is now a list of all of my authors. Whenever we run a report like this, we start, our results start at this overview stage. But what we're going to want to do is to get to a list stage, because the aim of the exercise is to export a list of authors. So I'm going to go to lists here, and let's have a look to see what some of the options are. So we've got contributors. We've also got work contributors. And let's just click on each of these so that we can see the difference between them. So contributors returns a list of contacts. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things that look like people, don't they? They are the contact records. So hold that in your mind. Now let's have a look at work contributors. Okay, so now we're seeing the people as they relate to a work. So if you're getting baffled by this idea of contacts and then contributors, this is quite instructive. You can think, okay, yes, that is fair dues. We've got various works here, and then we can see that the contributors are not the same thing as just contacts on their own. They are attached here to a different record within the system. So that is that's kind of looking at the contributors there, and then again we'd be going back to our correspondent to say, so what do you actually want? Do you want a list of works, or do you want a list of just the people? And let's say they say just the people, please. So I am going to go back to my list, and the first thing I can do, which I do often, is copy to clipboard. And that is a sort of a cheap way of getting, create a new file. Can I create a new file? Don't know. That's a way of getting data onto the clipboard so that you can paste it in another program. So I've just apparently opened a file in LibreOffice, which is a little bit like Excel. I've pressed Command and V, there's my data. So that can be very useful for dipping into another program. Will even work on email. You can get your results from a report, copy the clipboard, bash it into another program, and that's job done. But if you're thinking, well, I don't really want these headings on my export, and I do sort of want an actual official Excel file, and I'm going to need to create it anyway, so it would be nice if Consonance did it for me. Well, there's a way to do that, and that is with contact custom reports. Now, we have looked at custom reports quite often so far, but they have mainly been to do with products. And we've come here and we've exported a product custom report, but we can do the same for contacts. So that's quite handy. So I've clicked on contact custom report. There's only one at the moment. It's called mailing list, and it has some custom elements which we've defined earlier. They happen to be the contact ID, the biographical note, and tags. And this is the result for the report that we generated a moment ago, which is give me all of the contributions that include any of A01 by author. And now I can download that CSV, and that's all great. So that is another way to get data out of the system, and it all really ends up being, really understanding what the purpose of your activity is. Why are you trying to get data out of the system like this? And I feel that sort of sitting quietly and answering that question up front saves you sort of trying something and thinking, oh, actually, no, what I did want was a list of works with a list of authors attached to them. But, I'm only saying that because I make this mistake all the time and not stopping and thinking, what am I actually trying to do? So that's great. I'll just briefly say as well that whilst we were looking at lists there, so that was lists, custom reports, contact custom report, there's the sort of corollary for batch actions. You can also run a contact custom report, and what that will do is give you a file to download from notifications, and so that's up here, and that's going to be downloadable and openable in LibreOffice as well. So again, if it's an absolutely vast file and if you want to leave it running and then have Constance wiggle a bell at you to tell you it's done in a bit, then that's a valid way to do it as well. Again, what do you want? Use the tools that are most appropriate for it. Great. So I was going to say, have we answered the question? Have we exported a list of all my authors? Yes, I think we have, because we've looked at that list every which way. We've looked at the list in terms of, are we actually after a list of works with contributions on them? Are we after a pure list of the contact records? What else are we interested in? And what format do we want it in as well? So make inquiries to your mind as to what you're trying to do, and then use one of those tools as appropriate. Super duper. Right, let's now have a look back at our PowerPoint thing and see what's new. And what's new, can I possibly relate this to contacts? I don't think I can really. Maybe I can. So we just wanted to mention that it's an exciting week in the land of bibliographic legislation, because more information is coming to light about how we're all going to help the supply chain report on the requirements of the EUDR. It's the deforestation regulations. And they've been announced for a while, but there's been a sense of vagueness about what exactly are we all hoping to do, expected to do, who are we telling about it, how do we remain compliant? Because by the end of this year, 2025, if we're not saying where the pulp within our printed matter comes from, then our books will not be sellable within the EU. So it is within all of our interests to make sure that we understand how we can best communicate this information, find this information, and then get it out into the supply chain in an efficient manner. So I haven't got any code to show you. I haven't got any exciting new features to be revealed. What I wanted to do was to wave the same information at you that we've seen this week, and to say, it's here. Let's all read it together. It's great stuff, and it starts to go into some really useful detail about the wheres and wherefores and some ideas for how we can communicate and adhere to best practice. It's exciting, we're building up best practice as we go all together as a community. So this is a useful note that Editor have put out with regards to how we are going to put this information into the Onyx messages that we're already sending to data recipients. But the other piece of material that came out this week was from the wholesaler gardeners, the wholesaler and distributor gardeners. So this is a great, useful, in-depth, considered page about their sort of musings on what's going on and their nascent requirements and expectations for how data is going to be supplied. So very much worth a look. I'll probably put a link into the description below, but just search up gardeners in EUDR and start to sort of get a sense and a feel for the sort of information that's going to be captured. Consonance's job in all this is to give you fairly pleasing and well structured and organised form fields and tools so that you can capture this information, and then Consonance's job is to build this sort of Onyx file, this XML structure, and then send it out on your behalf. But we can't magic up the exact type of tree that has been used. That will come to you through your printer, hopefully. So this is a big jigsaw puzzle where there is still quite a few missing pieces, and some of them are the corner pieces. But we're getting there, and I feel like we've all got a fighting chance. It's August now. Really, what we're hoping to hear from you is let us know any further insights that you come across. I only got this gardener's email because I'm on the list for Snowbooks, which is the publishing company that I run alongside Consonance. So it's perfectly possible that you as publishers will get some niche communications that us as system vendors will very rudely not be included on. So definitely don't assume that we've seen everything. It can't hurt, can it, to send notes. If you're starting to build up a sense of, yes, I definitely want to be able to include this, that and the other in my communications, definitely let us know. We're all ears, champing at the bit, very keen to crack on and start typing code. But it's exciting times because the requirements seem to be emerging. So if you want us to build anything on your behalf to help this smooth transition into 2026, then definitely drop us a line. Very, very cool. So well done, gardeners, and well done, editor, for cracking on and getting out some really in-depth, chewy matter that we can all enjoy looking at. Right, well, that's what's new and what will be new. Thinking ahead to the end of the year got me thinking with our thoughts of contacts about Christmas, and it's absolutely blazing sun out there at the moment. So this is a power move that I'm going to give you this sort of heads up now, end of August. You've got enough time to make it very, very impressive around the 18th of December, when every year your higher ups will say, oh, we need to send out a Christmas card list, somebody get the Christmas card list. And it's a really tough challenge. It's actually quite hard to get a canonical list of all of the people that you're going to send Christmas cards to, or send an email out to say happy Christmas. So I thought I would share a good way to make it look completely effortless when somebody shrieks and says, I need a list. You're there with your power move, producing festive lists just like that. And what we're going to look at, we're going to go back to the address book area of Consonance, and we're going to look at one particular field, and it's called tags. So let's go over to address book, and let's just scamper down with our eyes on this first page, because there's a column on the on the page here, and it's headed tags. And if there are any tags on any of these contacts, then it's going to appear there. But we don't see any on the first page, so let's not faff around. Let's go to the address book search bit up there. And the final field on the list says tags include any of, and we've got some tags. Oops, getting me out of the way. We've got some tags, and these are tags that have been saved to our single version of the truth contact record in the past. The tags are very much not a sort of controlled list as pertains to publishing. They are a controlled list of whatever tags are meaningful to you. So previously, contacts have been tagged with the word music, with the word guitar, with the word bass, and also with the phrase Christmas card list. So if I click on Christmas card list and search, then what I've got, just hide that away, what I've got are the two people who have previously been tagged up on the Christmas card list. So, I mean, this is a slightly artificially constructed thing here. What you might see are areas of interest, or I don't know, things that don't conform to the publishing standard lists, like languages and countries and regions and subject codes in the thema category code. You know, these are whatever words are meaningful to you, and you want to group people together. I've gone with Christmas card list because it's just so kind of random in a way, but then it's so nothing to do with publishing, and yet come the middle of December, it's very much the job of the day. So this is really just to illustrate that you can tag contacts with whatever you want to tag them with, and then you can search for them. So here we are. You know, we've got this great big long list of all of these different contacts, but we're able to refine that list down using our tags. And so I wanted to show you the last thing today is that from the address book page, you can use those same custom report templates that we used earlier in reporting. So I've got checkboxes here, and I can check the box, and I can now check run custom report, and a dialog box appears, and here's my mailing list custom report, and I can click on run, and that is now running for all of the different records within my search there. And there it is, custom report. You know how Excel works, and there's whatever is relevant there. So that is and LibreOffice has hidden the things. And so that is a really nice way to start now, you know, tagging up all of your contacts as relevant. And that can be done by bulk, by importing from a spreadsheet. So, you know, that could be a fun task to do. And I think it's a true statement for a lot of different parts of the system. You know, you build up this body of work, and then the real payoff is in being able to perform an urgent, important task just like that. The other example I always like to do, and it just gives me a little buzz each time I do it, is to download all of the ebook files that exist on products in a batch, all as a big zip file. And then it makes that, you know, taking on a new ebook aggregator just the work of a single click rather than a month. So yes, this is one of the sort of payoff moments, isn't it? Take the time to add in relevant tags to your contacts, and then when it really comes to it, you're going to be able to search for it. And I'm sure you can think of better examples than the Christmas card list, but I still bet that when the middle of December comes around, you will be glad of having set up a whole bunch of Christmas card list tags. Last thing, let's just make sure that we know how to add fields onto one of our contact custom reports. Do you know, I can't actually remember if we've done this whilst I've been talking. I don't think we did. So what I'm doing, I'm going to custom reports, insights area here. And here's the mailing list custom report that we've been looking at. And you can see, you know, some of these custom report templates are at the product level. You're choosing product specific attributes to be your columns, but this one is contact, and you can set up new ones by clicking on add custom report, and that's all fine. So let's look to see what this looks like. Here's the contact ID, here's the biographical note, and here's the tags columns that we saw on our report earlier. The way to add more columns to this report is to click on add, and then we've got this great big long list. So it's really similar, isn't it, to the great big long list for product custom reports. It's super similar to the list for setting up marketing material templates, and these really act as the columns in your Excel spreadsheet export. So whichever columns you want, you check the boxes and they will be the ones that appear, and it's all good. And some of the options are, you know, hard earned from a lot of experience in producing spreadsheets for publishing, where sometimes you just need the letter Y to appear in a column and you need a blank column, and don't ask any questions. There's an email, there's a biographical note, there's the full address, and all of these things, some marketing information. So that's all good, and then you can save that and they appear there and you can reorder them and stuff. So yes, add new templates, edit existing templates, and then you can use them in all of the ways we've described. Great. So where are we on the list? I think we're done. We've looked at contacts and consonants from every which way, and we've had a good time doing it because we have explored the continuing theme of consonants, which is that it's your one version of the truth, and that is as true for contacts as it is for products and for works. Right, well, I will see you next week. I hope you have a fruitful and lovely time building up your tag list in your address book between now and then. Really let us know if there's anything to do with the EUDR that comes up. Just forward emails. You don't even need to write anything. Just send anything on that comes your way, and we'll together build up a body of interesting insights so that we can quickly get a feature out for you that enables you to send this important data out in your Onyx feeds. It might be worth starting to look at some of the other information that you store around print and production. Definitely just drop us a line if all of this is if this is the first you're hearing of EUDR. Drop us a line. If it's the first time you're thinking about using consonants to send information about paper and production run assets, then drop us a line. Just drop us a line. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying just, send us lovely emails, send us videos, send us questions, send us your hopes and dreams for how to conform to EU legislation by the end of the year. Super duper. Have a lovely week. I will see you next Thursday. Take it easy.